I'll tell you who's been great. I don't know if you ever read any of his stuff, but he started off doing those Twitter recaps, and now he works for Barstool. It's Chris Castellani. That
I
guy,
haven't read any of his stuff since he works,
he's a
but
really good
I love
writer.
him on Twitter. Yeah.
His recaps are phenomenal, and he's actually I think he's a great writer. I really like reading his stuff. And
It's Baseball at the Corner. This is the Michigan in Trouble podcast with your hosts, Alex S. Freeman and Luke Jaconis.
Hello and welcome to the Michigan and Trumbull podcast. I'm Alex Freeman, joined as always by Luke Jaconis. Luke, it's been a minute. How have you been?
Been very well, very well. Life is good. The Tigers win a decent amount of games, so I've been going to bed not as angry these last couple of weeks as I had been the last 4 to 5 years. So that's an improvement and a nice feeling overall. But I've been good. No complaints here. Life is good. I'm about to go on vacation. I'm about to go on a little vacation, so I'm pretty stoked to get away from work. I'll check in with the Tigers probably on my phone a lot, watching games, and I'm gonna relax. It's gonna be a good little time. How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Yeah, it's been definitely. I was in Ohio this past weekend, which was convenient because anytime I was out at a restaurant, I could ask them to turn on the Indians game, and they would comply with that. As opposed to if I had attempted to be at a bar in Ohio and asked them to turn on the Tigers game, they probably would have looked at me like I had 7 heads.
Yes. Which you don't.
Some of them did look at me like that when I asked for the Cleveland game, because I was in Columbus, which tends to go much more towards Cincinnati in terms of sports fandom.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's been good. It's been traveling a lot. Looking forward to I'm going to Michigan next week, so also kind of a little bit more travel to look forward to.
Nice. You're a busy man.
Yeah, just trying to make sure I'm not anywhere without Wi-Fi or a strong signal on my phone as Miggy comes up to bat.
Yeah, I feel that, and I feel that on a personal level. We'll get here in a second. I was at the Marlins game yesterday, and while I had no real interest in watching the game on Sunday because it was not very pro Tigers, I did make an effort for every Miggy at bat to tune in and see if I could witness history. I'm so glad, for the record, he did not get number 500 in a game where the Tigers were almost perfect hit against. A perfect game, I should say, against. So that was good. Perfect games are no bueno when it's not your guy throwing the perfect game. But thank God for hitting Harold Castro. That's right. That's all I can say. So I
think we should have brought Harold into pitch in those middle innings.
I think the rundown of guys who pitched yesterday was Drew Hutchinson, Ian Kroll, Derek Holland. I think Erasmo Ramirez came in at the end. I don't know if anyone came in after him. I've said this before. I am A-OK. Never have, even though Derek Holland, I don't think gave up a hit yet. Or gave up runs yesterday. I know he gave up a couple hits. I don't think he gave up any runs. I'm A-OK never watching Derek Holland pitch for the Tigers again. Same can be said for Buck Farmer. Same can be said for Ian Kroll. And I know Drew Hutchinson was just kind of thrown in because they're trying to preserve these young arms. But I think one kind of spot start on a Sunday's rubber match was good enough for me. I don't ever need to see Drew again. I don't need to see Drew Hutchinson. I don't need to see Drew Verhagen ever pitch. Hell, you can't really even see anymore. I don't even need to watch anything with Drew Carey at this point in time. Anyone with the first name Drew, I don't need to see your work pretty much. Drew Brees, can't see his work. He retired.
Has Drew Carey ever played shortstop?
Maybe. He's a Cleveland fan, so I automatically don't want to. He's a Cleveland.
That's true.
Drew Carey show. Cleveland rocks. No.
Cleveland does rock.
At beating the Tigers.
Yes, that's true. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later in the show.
Yeah.
But let's go to the Marlins game you went to yesterday. How was the stadium? How was your experience? Tell us all about it.
It was a nice afternoon. It was my first game back in a big league stadium in over 2 years. So just being back at a game was wonderful. It was funny, just to kind of give the backstory on all of this. I was with my mother and some of her friends and everything. They're all big Cub fans. I am not a Cub fan, clearly. But I was like, you know what? I've got this goal of seeing all these stadiums. Why not? I've been meaning to get down to Miami for a while now, but just kind of work and life and just it wasn't happening. So when the Cubs were coming to town, it was kind of a perfect excuse to get away for a Sunday afternoon. wasn't too bad, actually. I don't know why going into it I thought the stadium was going to be a dump. Maybe I was thinking of old Marlins Stadium, but Lone Depot is like barely 10 years old. So it's a really nice stadium. Staff was very friendly. The fan base seemed fairly friendly for a team like the Marlins. I really don't think Florida gives too much of a damn about their baseball teams to begin with. You can ask the Tampa Bay Rays fan base. They can never draw a crowd, even though they're arguably the best team in the American League. But that aside, I thought the stadium was real nice. The food was delicious. I had a beautiful, awesome, yummy, scrumptious Cuban sandwich. I had a nice hot dog, had a nice cold beer, so I can't complain about that. Food was good. It was different being at a stadium where there's a roof. The stadium is enclosed. They do have the ability to open or close the roof, but when I went to the game on Sunday, it was a closed off stadium for that matinee game, if you will. So that was kind of different. With the roof being closed, or having the roof, in the closed position, I should say, and the lights were real bright, I almost was like getting like tired. I can't describe it. Like my eyes were like getting heavy. To be fair, it could have been the fact that it was a Marlins Cubs game, and the game was absolutely abysmal. What I was going to say is, in hindsight, we really didn't get through that much. We bought these tickets about a month ago before the trade deadline happened, and then the Cubs just completely salvaged their team. Would salvage be the right word? Ravage their team. That's the word I'm thinking.
Ravage their team.
Ravage their team. So no Rizzo, no Baez, no Bryant. Did see plenty of former Tigers, though. Former Tiger Andrew Romine made an appearance. Former Tigers minor leaguer Frank Schwindel not only made an appearance, but hit a home run. Sergio Alcantara had a pinch hit at bat late in the game. And Austin Romine is the backup catcher, I believe, right now for the Chicago Cubs. Because Wilson Contreras is hurt. It was him and Robinson Chirinos. So I got to see Austin Romine warm up some pitchers. He did not play. So overall, it was a fun experience. I'd probably give it like 7 out of 10. The stadium was nice. It was clean. It was brand new. Food was pretty good. It was weird, I guess, being indoors with a baseball game. Baseball to me just feels like it's got to be outside. One really cool thing that I will say, they have like this bobblehead, like little Hall of Fame bobblehead museum. I don't know what the exact words were, but they just pretty much have a just collection of obscure bobbleheads from different teams. So I posted one on our Twitter. There was a Jim Leland and a Pudge Rodriguez. And I looked many times around. I did like 4 or 5 laps around the entire little display case. I could not find any Miguel Cabrera, whether it was a Marlins Miguel Cabrera or a Tigers Miguel Cabrera. I could not find one. Maybe it was just right in front of me and I couldn't see it. If anyone by perchance has been to Lone Depot and has seen it, please let us know, because I wanted to get a picture of it to throw it on the Twitter too. But no such luck. But a fun game. It was just nice to be back at a stadium. Again, weird kind of being indoors, but food was good. It was a kind of a unique setting, and I would go back again, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I have never been to an indoor baseball game, which is, all the parks I've been to have been open air stadiums.
Yeah, you can't really blame, when they probably constructed this thing. They're like, oh, damn, we play baseball in the dead of summer in Miami. It'd probably be nice to have some AC going, which it was. It was very nice. I can't complain about
any
that.
Afternoon game that you play, because it will rain at 3:00.
It will. So. Exactly. But I would recommend. I would go back again. Is it my favorite stadium I've been to? No, I still think that mantle probably belongs to Busch Stadium and or PNC Park. I always go back and forth on those two. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day. But although it's not my favorite all-time stadium, I definitely think it's worthwhile. I didn't regret my trip, and I could see myself going back at some point down the road. And if you do go, get yourself a Cuban sandwich. Cuban Cubano. I think on the menu it said it was a Cuban, but I always thought it was pronounced Cubano.
You could order either way.
Either or, but either way, it was delicious. Oh my God. I went in there with the mindset like I'm going to probably put down 4 or 5 hot dogs. The sandwich alone filled me up. I mean, I had a big breakfast before we got to the stadium, but I had the Cuban right as I got there with a nice cold beer, and it filled me up for like a good 4 or 5 innings. And then I got the hot dog in the later frames. And then I don't know about you. I know we've kind of talked about this a few times. I just like to walk around, especially when the Tigers aren't playing. So I think I watched the game from like innings 1 to 4, and then like from innings like 5 to 7, I just kind of walked around and watched it from some different vantage points. I, at a point in time, had to kind of like go to a little kind of nook, a quieter area, so I could watch the Miggy at bats. But it was fun. It was no complaints here. It was just really nice to be back in the stadium. So I was happy. I think I'll try to do the Trop in September when Detroit comes to town. I don't know if my review will be as kind based off everything I've read and heard of Tropicana Field, but that will remain to be determined. So
yeah, based on everything from the internet, the Trop could be interesting for you.
Not good.
No, yeah. I mean, let's kind of look at Miggy right now. Obviously, he's as we record this show, he is sitting at 499 home runs, 2,952 hits.
51 or 52, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it must be.
He's finally under 50.
He was at 29.51 going into Sunday, and there was almost a perfect game. So obviously, he did not get a hit.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Nor did anyone. Except for Harold Castro.
Except for Harold Castro, the number one hitter on the Tigers team. I mean, it not much else to say. I think that, it's not surprising that he hasn't hit it yet. He's been back at home. Obviously, Comerica is a bigger ballpark. He didn't play the final game in Camden. So it's not entirely surprising that he hasn't hit it. It's been fun to watch the fans get back to life in Detroit. That's been great. I've listened to a couple of the games on the radio as well as I've been traveling, and so to the stark difference in crowd noise when Miggy comes to the plate, much more noticeable on the radio broadcast than I think it is necessarily on the television broadcast, but starting to see fans come to life. AJ Hinch just talked about it, how that, this is the anticipated atmosphere, kind of moving forward as the team continues to get better. They are fun to watch most of the time, as any baseball team is. And in that, if they are a fun to watch team, every now and then they'll have a real clunker.
This past Sunday included.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of been my impression. It has added a great energy. It's been nice to see kind of MLB give the Tigers a little bit more love as Miggy closes in on this milestone. Luke, what are you thinking? How are you feeling?
Well, first of all, I will say I am very jealous of everybody who's been able to go to these games the last week or so when the Tigers have been at Comerica, because you are exactly right. Comerica Park is back, and that is awesome. And we as fans deserve it. The players deserve it. The city of Detroit deserves it, because it's been a long couple of years with the way things have been going for the Detroit Tigers. Things aren't perfect. There are still a lot of issues to fix. I think we all know pretty much at this point what the number one is. Get a shortstop. But beyond that, just where we're at right now in this moment in time, Comerica Park kind of looks like a party again. And yeah, absolutely, it makes it easier because, with Miggy's milestones and everything, it gives people a reason to go out because they want to be a part of that history. And that's fantastic. And I'm so happy for Miggy that he's getting to do this now as opposed to last year. Could you imagine if he was trying to go after these milestones in last year when there was nobody in the stadium? I mean, that would just be so depressing and absolutely just terrible. So I'm happy that we're at a spot now where people can go out to games. I know stuff with COVID is definitely not gone by any stretch of the imagination, but at least we're at a point where Miggy can have those fans in the stands kind of cheering him on, and good for the fans as well that they can go to a game, experience it, and potentially see some history. Real quick, backtracking to last, I guess would have been, was it Wednesday night? Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I don't remember what day I made my prediction that he was going to hit.
It's going to be Wednesday because we're both on a Wednesday because mine's upcoming this Wednesday.
It's upcoming. I came close. I came real close. Very close. He had to hit 2 and he hit 1 that night. So I came real close there for a second. But I'm glad now that, for my own selfish reasons, that my prediction was proven to be false. I now hope that it happens at Comerica. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. Everybody wants to see it happen there. I do fear that, Comerica is a bigger park. So that is a legitimate concern, I think. But, he's been hitting home runs out of there lately. I think more of his home runs lately have come at Comerica than they have on the road, if I'm not mistaken. I know he had the one in Baltimore, but I feel like he's had like 3 or 4 recently in Comerica within the last month and a half. So it's exciting. I don't know when it's going to happen. I hope for your sake it happens this Wednesday, because then you'll have a really fun, humble brag to have for the immediate future. But as long as it happens at home,
there will be no humble in the brag. There will be
just a straight brag.
It would just be a straight brag.
Straight brag. Okay, great, wonderful. Just a straight brag. Well, at least you're honest. At least you're an honest braggart. So I think that's terrific. But yeah, I can't wait. It's great. It's awesome for Miggy. 3,000 probably isn't happening at this point, unless he goes on an absolute tear in these last 5 weeks or so of the season. But that's just going to make it, I think you said it in the past, that's going to make for some very interesting games at the beginning of April. Some very cold baseball games, but you could see Comerica Park packed again when it's potentially snowing in April. So could be fun for next year down the road. But in the immediate future, he's going to get it. It's awesome. And I hope it happens at Comerica Park, because the place has been rocking lately. And I think it's long overdue. There's finally a team out on the field that, although not perfect, is a lot more easier to stomach these games, even sometimes when they play bad, because I will say that the bad has not outweighed the good has outweighed the bad. So I think that's good. But Miggy, get to 500, man. Can't wait. And then once you get to that, let's get to 600.
Let's go. Let's hit 100 home runs next season. But I mean, kind of speaking of the future and next season, we had Riley Greene and Spencer Torkelson move to AAA.
Yes, sir.
Which is a big move, because they'll spend the next couple weeks there, which likely means they'll definitely start. They'll start at AAA next season, which does make it feel pretty likely that we would see them in Detroit by the end of next year. I would be surprised with sort of their rise through the minors this year, the way they both kind of quickly made their moves up. Feels quite right that they will make their debut next year in Detroit, which is exciting, because I think that this team is very, very close to being competitive for the division as they kind of make their path. It'll be interesting to see what the White Sox do after this season and kind of how they run in the playoffs. And hopefully the Tigers don't have a stretch of 8 and was it 24?
22 or something like that. Yeah, it was not good.
Certainly put them behind the 8 ball to try and make a competitive run. And so I mean, I think that's pretty exciting to see those guys go up to AAA. They'll finish the year there and then start up there again next year. And we'll see them at some point.
Yeah, I think the question will be now, because they both just demolished everything that came their way in AA, Erie. Depending on how long they'll have in Toledo, it's probably looking more like, is it like 3 weeks to a month, somewhere in that ballpark, right? I'm not exactly sure how much longer that, but they're going to play at least a couple weeks in AAA before it's all said and done this season. One thing you could potentially see, depending on how well they play in AAA, depending how well they play in the spring, is it out of the realm of possibility that if they have a great audition for this last month in Toledo, and then they have a great audition in spring training next year, is it completely out of the question that they make the team out of camp? I don't think so. No. Now also a big factor in that too is, let's see what the Tigers do this offseason, if they add any pieces, any guys they may potentially subtract. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably right now, if you ask me, I'd say no. But who knows? If they hit like they did in Erie when they get to Toledo, and if they hit like that come spring training, next February and March, I don't know why you wouldn't. But maybe I know these guys are smart. AJ Hinch and his staff, as we're kind of about to see now with Schoop and Manning, they're limiting these young guys. They don't want to wear them out too early. And I guess it is a little bit different between, a pitcher and a positional player. But I think just something to kind of monitor. I mean, if they hit like they hit in Erie when they get to Toledo and then in spring next year, I don't know. Maybe we are seeing them in Detroit come April. Or if not right away, if not right into the season out of camp, maybe sometime in late April or May. It all depends. I mean, that's a huge hypothetical. It's a huge what if. Obviously, as they get this promotion, questions like that are going to kind of start kind of to arise. But it'll be definitely an interesting story to monitor. I think I bet you $500 we see him for sure next year, even if they're not making the team out of camp, even if they're not in there the first half of the season. I would be stunned that we don't see these guys in Detroit sometime next year. If they're not in Detroit sometime next year, something has gone wrong.
Yeah, I think that, as I kind of think through it, you look at the outfield in particular, right? Obviously, that's where Riley is going to go. And we have a decent amount of talent in the outfield, and younger guys that are still under team control. And so that'll be an interesting situation to see how that plays out. Maybe if you decide that we want to do a little bit more seasoning with Riley. Obviously he's a pretty young guy still. He's, I think 20, he's going to turn 21 later,
about to be 21,
later this month.
He's just about to be able to buy a beer, I believe.
Yeah. And so plenty of time there. Maybe you do keep him down for the first half of the season. You hope one or two of these other young guys has a really nice first half of the season, nice enough that you could package one or two of them together and get something nice in return. That all seems like a great possibility. It opens up a lot of options that these guys are going to be available, which is a great spot to be in, because maybe Jonathan Schoop can actually go back to second base if Torkelson's a first baseman.
Real quick, just speaking of first base, you know what thing the Tigers did this past offseason that was a bad move? Letting CJ Cron go. That guy is doing quite well in Colorado, and they brought him in on a minor league deal. There's absolutely no reason, hindsight's always 20/20, but there's no reason why CJ Cron could not have come back for another year with the Tigers. I mean, we thought at first Renato Nunez was going to kind of be the guy, and he really hasn't. He just got called up again for the first time since I think it was like late April or May. So just throwing that out there for what it's worth. CJ Cron is having a really nice little year out in Colorado, and I know Colorado is a more hitter-friendly ballpark than Comerica, so maybe that's a factor as well. But CJ Cron really, really doing it right now. And I just think to myself, why did they not bring Cron back, put him at first, put Schoop at second, figure out whatever you got to figure out at shortstop to get through this season, keep Candy at third. It's just like it would have solved so many issues. And even if they don't go out and get a first baseman this offseason, even if Tork doesn't start in the majors next year, or if he wasn't starting the majors, they don't put him at first right away. I think to myself, like a guy like Cron's probably available next season, this off season. Bring someone him in, or give Renato Nunez more of a chance at first. Like I don't understand. We've had this conversation a bunch, so we don't need to go down this road again. But I just don't understand. I just don't get. They're trying to put the square peg in a round hole, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, and sort of continuing on this note, we have Jonathan Schoop locked up for 2 more years, which is just wonderful. I think that's a great move. It's awesome also as a fan to not be stressing that going into the off season, that the attention has turned to, are we going to get a shortstop? Will we be signing Carlos Correa? And will we be locking Jamer up? Like these are kind of the questions now. I think that they should. Hopefully we can lock Jamer up before the end of the year. I don't think there's much reason to let Jamer
contract like. Is he a free agent next year?
I'm pretty sure. I thought he was on a 1 year
for I don't know. I'm not sure what his contract is, but I do agree. I think it would. I don't know where he's at contractually, but locking him down would be great. I will say this because a lot of
he was on a 1 year. He's on a 1 year this year, so he will be a free agent next year.
Yep. So definitely get him back, please. I will say this because I like to talk a lot of trash about Al Avila and Chris Ilitch, and rightfully so.
Well deserved
trash. As much as I think they kind of blew it by not bringing a guy like Cron back on a pretty short deal or small deal. Well done to get the Schoop deal finished and taken care of heading into the offseason. You have to give credit where credit is due, and that was a good deal. They went out, they spent some money. Schoop has earned the payday. He was solid last year, been real solid this year. I'm happy to have a guy like him back, and if they want to keep developing him as a guy who can play second, obviously, but also be much more comfortable at first base, fine, I guess. But I'm happy, as you said, it's like one less thing to kind of worry about this offseason. So kudos to Al and upper management just in general, the team getting it done. I've loved what Schoop has done, even in his small stint with the Tigers, and I'm glad we have him for at least 2 more years. So good stuff.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. Any other thoughts on free agency? What have we missed in this grab bag? Oh, we got some injury updates.
Yes.
We should have Matthew Boyd back before the year is out.
Cool.
That's probably the biggest one. Obviously, there was a nasty collision.
Yeah, that was bad.
In the outfield earlier last week.
Yeah, it was Derek Hill and Akil Baddoo ran right into each other.
But both seem to be doing okay. Neither has gone on the extended injury list. Nico Goodrum went on the 10-day IL, which has definitely caused some. One reason why Renato Nunez is back up with the team. And getting another shot. And he's doing an all right job with that shot.
I like him. I mean, I know he's going to strike out a lot. I know he doesn't have the best hands over at first base, but I mean, he's a power bat. I mean, we've seen it already in just a couple of games. He's kind of reasserted his dominance, at least with the home run power. So that's great. That was a really nasty collision in Baltimore between Akil Baddoo and Derek Hill. That was not pretty to watch, but it's encouraging that, as you said, things seem to be progressing and they're getting better. It wasn't anything too serious. I know they put Akil Baddoo on concussion protocol. But for everything I've been reading and just kind of following, he seems to be doing better. Same for Derek Hill. I'm a little bit surprised with Matthew Boyd because we'll probably maybe get him back at the end of this month. I'm almost surprised they didn't just shut him down for the rest of the season. But realistically, the Tigers could use some help with pitching because they're about to start limiting innings for Mize, Manning, and Skubal. So if you kind of subtract those 3 guys, if you're putting them on a shorter leash, who does that really leave you? Willie Peralta, Tyler Alexander. So maybe it's more like a thing where we need Matthew Boyd back. It sounds like Jose Urena, too, might be making a return in the not too distant future.
Yeah, he should be on the mound in Toledo on Thursday. Urena should be.
I think Julio Tehran is done. Remember that name? The guy who started one game. I think they're pretty much like, yeah, he's not coming back, which I think we all kind of were like, oh yeah, he's done. He's going to join the likes of Ivan Nova and Matt Moore, guys who had 1 or 2 good starts with the Tigers, Tyson Ross, and then they just completely faded off into obscurity. Other than that, it'll be interesting. Real quick, to backtrack, I know we want to take the ad break here in a little bit. Going back to the discussion about Riley Greene in the outfield. Yeah. If in a hypothetical world, he is, even if he's not making the team out of camp next spring, but he's making his debut in Detroit sometime in the first half of the 22 season, that'll be really interesting because then you have a pretty good plethora of outfielders. You would have Riley Greene, Robbie Grossman, Akil Baddoo, Derek Hill, Daz Cameron. If you really want, Victor Reyes. They're playing Eric Haas in left field a little bit more. I mean, he's proven to be a bat that you want to keep in the lineup. So wherever they can get him ABs, they'll probably try to play him there. So it does seem like, I guess the question I'm trying to pose here is, if a guy like Riley Greene gets off to a really, really hot start in Toledo, great in spring training, and pretty much makes an earlier than expected debut in Detroit, what does that mean for guys like Derek Hill and Daz Cameron and Akil Baddoo? Robbie Grossman will still be with us for 1 more year next season as of now. So that's, you assume he has pretty much a guaranteed starting job. I would assume at this point a guy like Akil Baddoo has earned his stripes that he's starting. But same thing with Derek Hill and Daz Cameron. I mean, I feel like they just kind of got here. But yet with a guy like Riley Greene emerging, it is almost kind of like, all right, boys, time to earn your spot. But in the meantime, it's like, wait a minute, they barely had a chance to say this is my spot. So it's I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. There's a lot of options, which is a good problem to have. But I just feel like at the end of the day, someone's going to get kicked off the boat, so to speak.
And you hope that they're having your hope that they're making it a tough decision to kick them off the boat so that they can land somewhere else with a good shot at getting their true shot at a major league roster and an earned spot. Because I do think there's certainly Baddoo has slumped a little bit as he's adjusted to hitting major league pitchers. but I think he's kind of fixed that. He still gets a ton of extra bases because he is fast out of the batter's box, and he's better on the base path, I think, than his ceiling feels much higher than either of those guys. And so I think that's hopefully one of them will stick around and win a spot, and hopefully one of them is competitive and is able to go somewhere that I hear the Cubs take a lot of ex-Tigers. So
it's true. I can confirm that rumor. I can confirm it. Yeah, I mean, and who knows? Maybe if these guys get off to some sort of a great start, like you mentioned, they can always try to do some sort of package deal if the return haul is right and if it fits the Tigers. And I'm not trying to already usher guys like Daz Cameron and Derek Hill out of Detroit because, as I just said a second ago, they've barely had a chance. So, and unfortunately for them, the reason as of late why they haven't had a chance is because they can't stay healthy. So it's unfortunate. And again, I'm not saying Riley Greene is with the Tigers on opening day next year, but I do think it is a valid question given depending on how he does in Toledo and in camp, even if it's not a call up right away in April, sometime in the first half or maybe after the All-Star break, you can only play 3 outfielders. So, and right now there does seem to be quite a few cooks in the kitchen. So it'll be interesting to see how it all kind of unfolds. But a fun thing to watch and a good problem to have, just something to kind of keep an eye on as guys like Riley and Spence start to get here. The future is inching closer and closer, it seems, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. And we will take our ad break right now, and we will come back and we will preview next week, and we will talk about the year that was against the soon to no longer be Cleveland Indians. So we'll be right back.
Yes.
We are back on the Michigan and Trumbull podcast, here to talk about we think they're going to be the Cleveland Guardians, but have you been tracking that story, Luke?
Well, they might change the name.
Well, there's apparently a professional roller derby team that is the Cleveland Guardians.
Okay.
Who has filed suit to stop that name change.
Gotcha.
So they should have gone with Spiders. They should have gone with the Cleveland Spiders. They hired Tom Hanks for nothing.
What about the Steamers?
That would be an option. I don't think the PR and marketing team would be particularly happy with what happens when someone Googles that phrase. But you never know. The worst decisions have been made, like deciding to rename your team without checking to make sure there's not another professional team
in your city
with that name.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
We'll see. Well, maybe they'll follow suit of the Washington football team and just be the Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah, I don't mean to, lose the focus here. I don't care if they're the Cleveland Indians. I don't care if they're the Cleveland Guardians. I don't care if they're the Cleveland Steamers. As long as the Detroit Tigers beat them, that's all I care about. I'm sick of losing to Cleveland. It is the most infuriating thing, I think, one of the most infuriating things this entire year. Next to the shortstop woes, I think batting second is the fact that we still struggle against the Cleveland Indians. And here's the thing. I'm going to give credit to him because I think he's awesome. Chris Castellani brought up a great point on one of his post games this past weekend. And he said something along the lines of, in years past, when we would get dumped on by Cleveland, like it made sense. We were absolutely atrocious. They were just putting out these Cy Young caliber pitchers, start after start after start. This season, that wasn't the case. This team has traded away a lot of those starting pitchers. Some of their starting pitchers that are still on the team are injured. The offense is not nearly as good as it's been in the past. They lost their manager, Terry Francona, because he's decided to forego the rest of the season due to some personal health, which I can totally respect. And the Tigers are a much better team now than they've been in the last 3 or 4 years. So the fact that I think we just did the on-to-go math, so if we're wrong on this, folks, we apologize. But the fact that the Tigers went 7-11 against Cleveland this year is inexcusable to me. If they would have broken 500, I would have said this is progress. But I'm sorry, finishing 7-11 to this Cleveland team, the Cleveland team that was the 2021 Cleveland Indians, is awful. And that just goes to show that although there have been lots of improvements with this team this season, there are still issues to fix. One of them being they have to be able to beat Cleveland, let alone a Cleveland team that they're not good. They're not good. Mm-hmm. It's the funniest thing. I was talking to my brother about this today, actually, and I was laughing. I was like, what's going to happen now is the Tigers will go play whoever they're going to play this week, LA and Toronto, and they'll play pretty well against those teams. And then I guarantee you watch what Cleveland's doing, whoever they're playing, they're going to lose. They're going to lose 2 to 4 games this week. I guarantee it. Tigers will win 2 to 4. Cleveland will lose 2 to 4. And this time next week, we'll be back in this similar situation where it's like, hey, we're tied for second with the Indians again. Woo-hoo. But then if it came time for us to play them again, we would choke. So you just have to give credit where credit's due. Cleveland has our number. You want to talk about a Cleveland steamer. That's what it's felt like being a Tigers fan these last 4 or 5 years. I apologize for going sophomoric, but there's no other way to put it. That's what it feels like. We've been dumped on the last 5 years by Cleveland, if not longer. So it is what it is. Hats off to where you give them. Hopefully when they become the Guardians or the Spiders or the Rock, Paper, Scissor, whatever you want to call them. Hopefully they become, that'd be good. The Cleveland Rock, Paper, Scissors. That'd be Cleveland RPS. I like it. Kind of sounds like a minor league name, but you know what? They're almost a minor league team at this point. So why not?
It's interesting. It's interesting because I think that, like, I mean, if you told me really that the Tigers would be pretty good spot to finish third in this division at this point of the season, I'd be like, oh, great. AJ Hinch is doing it. He's doing the thing that he promised. And I believe that to be true. But I also believe that this team is actually the second best team in the American League Central this year.
I agree.
And they are not in that position. And I think it does still seem, because Cleveland is not good and the Tigers are playing much better. I think that the Tigers will probably overtake them before the end of the year, but it's frustrating that they couldn't do it head to head, that they have now had 2 opportunities to take second place from Cleveland and they have blown them, which just is, you know, I say it all the time that I hate being the voice of trust the process, but I don't want to trust the process right now. They could have done it and they didn't do it. And that's frustrating. And it hopefully it is a learning experience for this young roster, because those were I guess good test games of what big games can feel like in this situation where it's like we are tied for second, we can take second place if we do it, and they fell short. And that can be important for development. You know, you see it all the time in March Madness and NCAA basketball. The teams that are destined to be number 1 seeds, losing mid-round in their conference tournament and then running the table in the NCAA tournament. Sometimes that kind of kick to the teeth can remind you of like where you actually are, what you need to focus on, all that stuff. And so hopefully they're able to win out enough games in the rest of the year that they can overtake Cleveland and finish ahead of them in the standings, because that's where they should be. I can't say deserve to be because they lost the head-to-head. So they're 7-11 against that team. That is a better baseball team head-to-head than the Detroit Tigers, and that's frustrating because they're not.
Yeah, that you brought up a lot of really good points there. First of all, you're exactly right. It just I agree with your sentiments that I think that we will finish ahead of Cleveland when the season wraps up that first week of October. I think it will end with the White Sox in first and the Detroit Tigers in second. Whether or not we're 500, you know, we're going to have to see how the season unfolds these last few weeks. But it does kind of sting that it's like, even though I think that's going to happen, it's not going to be because we beat Cleveland. It's going to be because someone else did our dirty work for us. So that kind of sucks. But again, you know, Cleveland's had our number the last 5-6 years, however long it's been at this point. So it's kind of come to be expected. And next year, hopefully, as the team continues to get better, they bring in pieces. The team just starts to kind of adapt to that winning culture. They can kind of change that past beatdown history that the Tigers have against Cleveland. You brought up another really interesting point too. You know, this was probably this past weekend was probably the first time for a lot of these guys that the stadium was packed and there was almost in a weird way something on the line. Obviously, people are there for the Miggy history. But let's not lose sight of the fact, again, this team at this point in time was competing for second place this week. This team, because I think they were 3 under going into the 3-game series, had they swept Cleveland, would have been 500 and in second place and had a nice little couple-game lead on Cleveland at that. And then obviously factor into everything that's going on with Miggy. It just could have been a really, really special weekend. And it was embarrassing. It was once again another embarrassing beatdown at the hands of Cleveland, which sucks. But, I think of a guy like, Jamer Candelario or a Victor Reyes, a Grayson Griner, maybe a guy like a Michael Fulmer, he pitched in 2016. But just some of these guys who have been around these last 3 or 4 years, especially a lot of the guys who are around in, not to poke fun at him, but kind of, in the Garda years, like in 2018 and 2019, especially 2019. Where it was just abysmal, absolutely abysmal. I know it was abysmal in other years too, but those are kind of more recent and fresh on the brain. Compare an atmosphere from a game in 2019 to a game now this past weekend in 2021. It's pretty night and day. So I have to imagine to a certain extent there is some kind of like nerves and jitters for these guys going out there who are finally for the first time seeing Comerica as packed as it's been. And that got to keep in mind, not like Comerica was sold out this weekend. It did very, very well. But still not sold out crowd. So, there's still definitely a ceiling that can be reached here. But just, that's something they're also going to have to adapt to as this team gets closer and closer to actually competing for not only an AL Central title, but hopefully a pennant, and then further down the road, a World Series championship. It's not going to be like those games in 2019 where there was maybe 3,000 or 4,000 fans there on a good day. Start to expect a lot more of these bigger crowds and eventually those sellout crowds. And just imagine, next April, the Tigers go out, they bring in some big name shortstop. Maybe the Justin Verlander reunion happens. Oh, and by the way, Miguel Cabrera's 3 or 4 hits away from 3,000. Place is going to be packed. Place is going to be packed. So if these players aren't ready now, that's fine, but get ready. That'd be my advice to them. Get ready. And I have no doubt AJ Hinch and his staff will get them ready. And it helps when you have, those vets on the team like Miggy, like Schoop, like Robbie Grossman. They can hopefully try to calm some of these younger guys down. But if you're not ready now, young Tigers players, looking at you, the, Akil Badu's, the Zach Shorts, the Derek Hills, whoever you want to say, get ready, because it's gonna get those late in bullpen guys. Oh yeah, the Sotos, the Cisneros, the Funkhausers. Get ready, boys. It's gonna get dicey here. It's gonna turn into a real who wants it more kind of grit battle down the road. And let's just let's do our best and let's kick some ass. Let's win. Let's win and let's beat Cleveland. Gosh darn it. I am tired of losing to Cleveland. And let's hope next year we can right that ship and start beating them for once.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself, Luke.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So kind of you to say.
Looking ahead at this week.
Yeah.
We got the Angels coming to town. Tuesday night, Bundy v. Mize. Wednesday night, Ohtani v. Skubal. Thursday, Sandoval versus Manning, the projected starters. I have predicted that Miguel Cabrera will will hit his 500th against Shohei Ohtani on Wednesday, August 18th.
Okay.
I still feel good about that. I feel good. Yeah. I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this will be an interesting series to watch, because when the Tigers went out to LA, I believe they lost 3 of 4. It was either 3 or 4 of 2 or 3, but I'm pretty sure that was a 4-game series. They lost 3 or 4. And similarly to Cleveland, the LA Angels are a very beatable team. So this isn't, once again, one of those opportunities where the Tigers have the chance to pick up some wins and just keep getting closer and closer to 500. I mean, they're only 4 under right now. And realistically, I hate to get, too, ahead of myself here, but the Tigers can sweep the Angels. The Angels have 0 pitching with the exception of Shohei Ohtani. The Angels have 0 pitching, and I don't think Mike Trout is back yet even.
Correct.
So he's still out. I mean, obviously Shohei Ohtani is going to probably hit a couple of bombs this week. That just seems to be something he does on a regular basis at this point. LA can swing it, but pitching-wise, they're dreadful. They're dreadful. So let's go out there. Let's take care of business against LA. And then, it doesn't get any easier here for the Tigers now. That easy month of July has come and gone. They're going to see Toronto. They're going to see Tampa down the road. We got more games with the White Sox. I think we see the Brewers once or twice, if I'm not mistaken, in September. The schedule does not get any easier for the boys in Detroit, but hopefully they can amount to the challenge. It seems in the past when they've had teams come in or they've been at stadiums where they've been playing against teams who have a better record, they usually hold their own. And then for some reason they flounder against teams like the Angels and the Indians. I don't get it, but it just seems to be the thing that they do. So hopefully just moving forward, we play as well as we can. We beat the teams we should beat, and the teams that are better than us, we give it a good fight, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it'll be good to see hopefully them go out there and at least get a series win at home. And Miggy hit 500 at home this week against the Angels. Can't wait. And we get the 3 young bucks, Mize, Schoop, and Manning. That's awesome. Fun to say that out loud.
I just looked up looking at the Tigers schedule, and Wednesday is not only Shohei Ohtani pitching, it's Bark in the Park.
Dude, it was Bark in the Park Sunday when I went to the Marlins game.
Whoa.
It was wonderful.
That's awesome. So Miguel Cabrera's 500th home run will be caught by a dog. Is the assessment here.
Yeah, and that dog, I've heard already, whatever dog catches the ball is refusing to give the ball back to Miggy. And I don't know about you, Alex, but to me, that is a rough situation. Hello? Are we still live? Did you cut the feed? Hello? Did I get kicked into a breakout room?
No. Yeah, everyone's still here.
Oh, okay. Good.
I'm sorry I told you it was Bark in the Park.
I've
never been to a Bark in the Park. Is it? So I do now I have some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it just loud with dogs barking?
Well, I'll tell you what was the most interesting thing to me was the fact that the entire game, the only dog I saw there was the bounty hunter.
Oh, wow.
That's it. He was just arresting. People were missing their court dates left and right, so he was dragging them to court.
I'm not surprised by a game in the state of Florida that was the situation.
Where Dog the Bounty Hunter was the headliner. No. Yeah, it was actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and I was talking to a coworker today about it at work. I'm pretty sure they almost kind of put all the dogs in one section of the park. Like there was no dogs sitting around me. So I was on kind of the first level. I was probably about 7 to 8 rows back from first base. And then there's kind of that mid-tier section. That's where they had the dogs. And I don't think the third level was even open to fans. I don't really think they draw much of a crowd in Miami. But I think they pretty much kept all the dogs on that second section, just so probably that there was no absolute chance of a dog running onto the field and interrupting the game. But like I said, the game was pretty boring. So I wouldn't mind seeing a couple dogs around the field and just maybe chase down a Cubs player. Would have been funny.
I think every inning they should draw a new dog to come out and be an outfielder.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And just let him run around the outfield.
Yeah.
If he gets the ball, you got to get it away from him to throw it in.
Yep. I liked it. Yeah. I was I'd never been to a Bark at the Park. And actually I didn't even know it was Bark at the Park until I saw it. Well, at one time I saw one person walking around with a dog, like while I was just checking out the stadium before the game. And I just thought it was like maybe like someone had a service dog for whatever reason, or anything like that. And then once they started showing a couple dogs on the Jumbotron, the big screen, I was like, wait a minute, is today Bark at the Park? And then it was like, all right, Marlins fans, welcome to this year's Bark in the Park. And I was like, what? I've never been to a Bark in the Park. So it was cross that off the baseball stadium bucket list, get to attend a Bark in the Park. And it made me want to get a dog and bring my own dog, 100%.
I'm making a new bucket list. I want to attend every Bark in the Park.
And
then we can assess which fan base has the best dogs.
And whatever fan base has the worst dogs, that fan base is kicked out of baseball for a year.
That's right. Get them out.
Yep. I like it.
I think we've lost the thread a little bit, Luke. Anything else on the Tigers before we wrap this up?
Nope. Go Tigers. Let's beat the Angels, please. No more errors in the infield. Let's sign a shortstop. Miguel Cabrera is going to hit 500 home runs. And it would be really great to this time next week be saying that the Detroit Tigers are 500 because I think they could definitely. Again, it's not like if they were 14 or 15 under at this point in the game, I'd say, yeah, Tigers, it's probably time to pack it in. We are very much in the hunt to finish 500, very much in the hunt to finish second. So let's do it. What do you say? Let's end this year, which has been pretty fun overall, on an even higher and more positive note. Go Tigers. If you're at that game this week, watching Miggy go for 500, cheer loud, cheer extra loud for Alex and I, because we're not there.
That's right, and we'll certainly be yelling from wherever we're tuning in to those games, and hopefully Miguel Cabrera, you hit it in front of all the dogs, and it'll be a great time as you hit it off of Shohei Ohtani. It'll be a great time, and I will brag endlessly about having predicted that. So
absolutely. Quick, before I let you go, what is your favorite fictional dog?
My favorite fictional dog. Ooh, that's an excellent question. I might have to go with Rolf, the dog.
Rolf from
the Muppets.
Yep. If I'm not mistaken, I think Rolf has one of the best scenes in the Jason Segel Muppet movie, where they're like they do the whole montage of getting the Muppets back together, and then Rolf's like, "Well, why'd you cut out my scene?" And they cut to his scene where Kermit's like, "Rolf, we're getting the band back together. You want to join?" And he just goes, "Sure." It's very anticlimactic. That's a great pick. I know you're a big Muppets guy, so it's very, very on brand for you, and I definitely give you 2 thumbs up. I'm going to go Airbud. Airbud, that's a pretty cool dog.
That's a cool dog.
Airbud is a cool dog. Hot take, Clifford the big red dog, kind of overrated.
Yeah, I agree.
You could not take him to bark in the park, that's for sure.
No, he'd take up the whole park.
Take up the whole park. You'd ruin the game.
It would be over. I'm surprised that's not a Clifford book.
Yeah, Clifford ruins baseball.
That's a free idea, Clifford writers. That's all yours. Run with it. It'll be great. Terrific. And when that happens, fans, we'll be here to talk about it on this show right here. We'll see you next time. Luke, have a great week.
See you, buddy. Have a good one.